Hi, Esty. So today we are here with Kris Campbell from Hale Hush, and we're going to learn all about their sensitive skin solutions. That's going to be the topic for today. I think now more than ever, at least I'm also seeing with a lot of clients coming in, their skin is very sensitized, and there's a lot more reactive clients. So I think it's important to not get scared and to have that education so that when those clients do come in and we're faced with that we don't freak out and we know the best way forward. So I know Hale Hush is all about sensitive skin solutions. Do you mind just talking a little bit about the brand and how the idea of having this philosophy came to be?
Well, my background is in merchandising and supply chain management. I had done a lot of project management and stuff in the past and sales and that type of thing. And then I was going to open up a supply store in Phoenix. I have friends that own supply hair stores in the air, different areas in different states. So I ended up thinking I better learn something because I was going to do skincare instead of hair. And I was going to open this supply store because Phoenix has tons of spas. And so I decided that I better learn something about skin. So I went to aesthetic school. And by the time I got out of school, it wasn't the time for me to be spending money on opening a business. So my husband's like, either you're going to do what you're going to do before, or you're going to have to touch people. And neither of those were options for me at that time. So I decided 20 years ago when I got my state board, that was the last time I touched somebody. I still have my aesthetics license, but I ended up going to work for an FDA lab called Covalence. They manufacture for brands all over the world. And so when I was working for them, I did sales for them, took people to other countries, got their products in other countries, talked about all the manufacturing and things like that. So I met a woman named Murad Curran who wrote the book on oncology aesthetics. She trains all over the world. She worked with me there. And when she left to work with her book and do trainings, she started a product line called Techniche. And she's like, Kris, I don't really want to sell. So I bought Techniche from her probably about 12 and a half years ago with some partners. And then I decided 10 years ago to buy my partners out and go into sensitive skin because I saw that change in the market back then. If
Mm-hmm.
we could work on oncology clients, which a lot of our safe are mind or a lot of our products are mindful for those with cancer, we could also do this.
Yeah.
So we decided I bought my partners out, bought three partners out, rebranded 10 years ago in July, and I've gone with sensitive skin ever since. And I feel it's a great niche, kind of like there's niches for acne and other things, because every one of the larger brands has a sensitive, category, I guess you would say. However, sometimes it doesn't work for certain clients. Maybe it's a fragrance, maybe it's a certain ingredient. So we're able to work with those clients. You can still have your major brands, Circadia, SkinScript, Lyra, any of those brands, and fill us in where you need us. We can be as much or as little as you need.
Mm-hmm.
So we've really just seen that marketplace really expand. Like you said, you're seeing more people in your treatment room that way.
Mm-hmm. And how are you able to tell the difference between sensitive skin, sensitized skin, and reactive skin? I'm sure you get this question a lot.
You have to do a lot of research. I mean, you have to ask a lot of questions. You need to have a proper intake form that really goes into their lifestyle, their hobbies, where they work, all these different types of things to really figure out when their sensitivity started. Was it new? Is it something that's they're being reactive to ingredients that they're being exposed to in their everyday life or situations, medications that they're on? So really, you have to do a big process of that. And then if they're truly allergic to things, they should be going doing proper allergy testing. I think a lot of people just jump to the fact that I'm allergic to a certain ingredient because they had a reaction to one particular product, but not all of our products are the same. Everybody uses vitamin C from different companies, and
Mm-hmm.
there's different types of vitamin C.
Mm-hmm. So it when you have sensitive skin or reactive skin, is it usually like because of an internal thing going on? Because I am noticing like clients, for example, who have gut issues, maybe in the past
Mhm.
they never had sensitivities, but for example, I had a client this week that she's been having acne out of the blue for the past year, and
Mhm.
her skin just got immediately red, like just from the first product I used on her. And then I've experienced it myself too with like medication and just even with extractions, I get like kind of like mosquito bites. So can you talk a little bit about that?
So a lot of A lot of people are having autoimmune disorders these days. So
Hmm.
you really need to check into their health and ask what's going on. Their hormones could be a big part. The physiology of our skin changes throughout life. So what I used when I was 20 years old is not what I can use on my skin at 58. So I think you really have to understand what's going on with their healh, but like also their lifestyles, their stress levels, the medications they're on. Because even as something as simple as an antibiotic, a strong antibiotic, people are getting flu and all these things. They're taking these antibiotics, not realizing that's causing some type of photosensitivity and sensitivity on the skin, and it may take longer to remove that out of the body.
Hmm.
You may have a sensitive time. So you need to switch up what you're doing. You need to be talking to your esthetician, talking to your doctors, letting them know, hey, I've noticed my skin is more sensitive. Is there something going on? It's not my skincare, it's not this or that. Maybe something's going on with your body or the medications that you're using.
Hmm. And what common mistakes do you see professionals make when working with sensitive or compromised skin?
I guess really not, biggest thing I see is they're not really asking the questions. They're not doing that intake form and
Hmm.
getting the answers that they really need. They're not making sure that when they're doing some of these more aggressive treatments that their people aren't doing stuff at home. I mean, how many people have home devices to dermaplane themselves
I know.
or to do gadgets themselves at home, and they are not telling you when they come into the treatment room, and then they're reacting to something or they're not totally honest. I mean, even though you do that big intake form, you should have a treatment consent form every time they come in. They don't have to fill out everything, but if they've had any changes in medication, if they have done certain things at home, you need to put that down so you protect yourselves. Because a lot of them, once you start asking the questions, oh yeah, I forgot I was using this new retinol serum. Oh
Mm.
yeah, I did this to my face prior. So protect themselves, but you have to really ask the questions and figure out why they're reacting.
Yeah.
And making sure you're understanding. I know we all say don't mix your ingredients, mix your products. We all have our protocols, which everybody's supposed to follow, but I know they
Hmm.
don't always follow the protocol.
Hmm.
And they start mixing different brands, and the brands are created to work together in their own brand. But when you start mixing and someone goes, I used XYZ enzyme and then I put your stuff on it, how do I know they're not reacting to that enzyme you used from another brand instead of what you put on mine afterwards?
Yeah.
So, really understanding what you're doing with the ingredients, understanding the instructions, and making sure your client's honest with you on how they're, doing everything.
Yeah. I think one thing that I do is like when I have a new client, I always have them bring me their skincare or take pictures of it because you'd be surprised so many people don't even know what they're using, like what's in what they're using, and they're not aware of the contraindication. So I feel like it's our job to look at that because skincare is confusing. And they just these days they put so many different ingredients in just to one product, and then they're layering those products, and then they come in and then they have a reaction because it's the contraindication. And another rule that I have too is like I've kind of battled with this when it comes to selling products, but like, and maybe you can talk a little bit about this too, is I will usually introduce to my client maybe one or two products first rather than putting them on a whole line, just because I don't know if they have a reaction. I don't want to be like guessing which product caused the reaction. But I,
Oh, that's a great way to do it because
yeah,
a
but
lot
I
of people
guess
don't do that.
yeah. With Hale and Hush, is that something that even though it's created for sensitive skin solution, sensitive skin, do you recommend like is it safe enough to give them a whole product line or can you are you okay.
It depends on the client, really what's going on there and where their barrier is. I think
Hmm.
that's the first most important thing with a sensitive skin client is to get that barrier in a better place intact before you introduce, vitamin C serums, Vandel, any of these other things. One thing we do with Hale and Hush is we're really big on sampling.
Okay.
So say you buy Quiet Wash and two eye moves, I give you matching samples for your clients. A lot of companies don't do that for free. I know there's one other that I can name that does that, but most of them don't. We're really big on sampling because most people that are sensitive that are coming to see you, they've spent hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on skincare and it
Hmm.
hasn't worked. So to give them a sample after that to go home with, one little packet is plenty. I don't need to give somebody a 1 ounce to try. A
Yeah.
packet, they're going to know if they have a reaction. Even doing our sensitive skin facial, that's the facial I recommend everybody start with. Use those products because almost all those products are used in our other facials with our pro masks and enzymes and things. So you'll know if they don't have a reaction there and you introduce our enzyme on the next facial, you're going to know maybe it's something in the enzyme
Mm-hmm.
because they were fine with the last facial. So I really think you have to patch test. You have to, even with sensitive skin, you need to go with less is more and work your way up and build that confidence with your client. Because once they see that they're getting those results, the barrier is calming down, the inflammation is calming down, they're more likely to go, oh, do you have an eye product I could try now? Or do you have a serum I could try? They're more likely to do that.
Mm-hmm. And what are some signs? Because I work with a brand that there's a treatment, and before even proceeding with the treatment, we will do like some sort of a test to see if we could continue. What's like an example of something that we can look out for so we know, okay, I shouldn't continue with this protocol, or I shouldn't use this enzyme or this
Are
peel?
you
Like any
are
specific
you testing
signs in
like
the
in the
skin.
middle? I guess I'm trying to see, are you testing in the middle of a facial, like to say, hey, can I go on with this next step and maybe patch test someone? Is that what you're doing when you're saying you're testing them?
Yeah, so it's like in the beginning of the facial, just to kind of see
Oh,
how, I guess to test their skin barrier to see if it's strong enough to
hmm.
continue. So I guess my question would be what what is like a weakened skin barrier? What are the signs of a weakened skin barrier and the
You're going to
signs?
see inflammation. You're going to see a lot of inflammation, sometimes swelling. Those people, that's why we always start with our sensitive skin facial, even without our polish, and don't even do an exfoliant. We don't use well, for our sensitive skin facials, we don't use steam
Mm-hmm,
because most people, they're trying to get rid of inflammation and putting steam on their face is not getting rid of it at the end of the day. So there are people by doing just a sensitive skin facial and with basic products on their first facial, some people just get red when the manipulation on their face.
mm-hmm,
It could be with water. The manipulation turns them red and inflamed. You need to know that before you throw an acid on them or some type of enzyme.
mm-hmm,
So, doing a gentle facial first and really seeing where that is, or maybe doing a gentle facial. And when you're doing the gentle facial the first time, then coming back and patch testing the enzyme for the next time or things like that. But if they say there's any tingling or anything going on, you're going to see cracking in the skin, somebody who has more thin skin.
mm-hmm.
Um, People that are photosensitive that way, maybe because of medications they're on, you'll see a thinning in the skin also.
Okay. So your ingredient integrity is a big part of your brand. Are there any standout ingredients that you use that maybe professionals don't know about, but you think like these are like all-star ingredients?
All star ingredients. We use retinaldehyde, which is great for sensitive skin because it doesn't cause the peeling and downtime. It's much more gentle than retin A or retinol.
Mm-hmm.
We also use a form of vitamin C called 3-OL ethyl ascorbic. It's made for sensitive skin. It's very stable, so it doesn't cause that tingling and stuff where people that are sensitive to vitamin C's.
Yeah.
We use Mirabella Julapa extract in a lot of our products for calming. But we look for, I mean, another cool ingredient we have, everybody knows resveratrol comes from grapes. We use a form of resveratrol that comes from giant knotweed extract. So you're
Mhm.
still getting the potency of resveratrol, it's just coming from a different source. And I think that's what we do a lot. Instead of using some of those more aggressive cosmeceuticals, we use more natural forms of them to not cause the irritation and the aggravation that people don't want, but they still want the benefits of the anti-aging or the brightening or the things that they're looking for.
Yeah. It's kind of like a less potent version. It doesn't mean it's not working,
You're
but
not
it
going to
is,
get an instant result. Yes,
yeah.
it's not like an instant aggressive result, but when somebody's sensitive, that you have to take a slower pace to that by
Mhm.
getting the barrier intact, working your way up through the steps
Yeah. I think with all
versus
treatment,
going aggressive.
yeah, I think when you go aggressive, sometimes it backfires and then you have to get into the
Mhm.
whole corrective part of it. And
Yeah.
so sometimes I think just going slower is just better in general, even for those who aren't as sensitive.
Well, and going to a different step level of how you're doing it. If you get their barrier intact, then you do an enzyme. Maybe the next time they come in is treat them with a nice hydrating facial. But stair step what you're doing, because if you just keep going aggressive, you're going to sensitize them and then they're never going to get back to a normal place. You have to remember to repair after you do a more aggressive treatment. And I think where that's people just keep wanting to keep coming in for peels and all
Mhm.
these different things, they're over processing and then they sensitize themselves and don't understand why they can't use the things they want to use anymore.
Okay. And are there anything like are there any ingredients or any specific treatments? Like I know you mentioned steam. that you feel as though those with sensitive skin should not be doing, or even those with all skin should not be doing?
Well, steam is, I mean, great for its own purpose. People like that. They like to feel the steam. I'd say put it up there and just let it blow on them and tell them it's there because we're trying to get rid of the inflammation. But even with our enzymes, a lot of companies have enzymes that have to be used for, you have to use steam with them. Ours, you do not have to use it. If somebody has a normal barrier, you can use it, but you don't have to. Looking at the towels that you're using and the linens that you're using, looking at the detergents that you're washing with. People could be sensitive to a lot of those things. Looking at those type of things, doing stuff at a more gentle pace and working your way up through different devices. I mean, you're not going to want to go on somebody that comes in sensitive until their barriers are going to place, just jump in and do microneedling.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to ask for it, but you need to go, hey, you need to educate them and say, hey, I'm looking at your skin. Your barrier is compromised. Let me show you. We need to repair this so that we can get the best results. Because if we don't repair it before we do this type of treatment that they're looking for, that may be a little bit more aggressive,
Mm-hmm.
you have to get that back in place. Or they're not going to get the results they want. They're going to have more risk of having some type of reaction, which we don't want them to have.
Yeah. And when it comes to the education side of it, um, I know you guys provide education for your estheticians. Is some of that education also like holistic things that estheticians should be recommending to their clients? So I know we talked about like a lot of the sensitivity is caused by internal factors. So is that something you educate your estheticians on as well?
We work with different collaborating. That's a big thing is we have a lot of collaborating partners. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we have protocols with people that do a special, more holistic massage and things like that, using those more natural tools to help reduce inflammation and do treatments. We have clients that do Reiki, and we don't necessarily teach Reiki and things like that. We partner out with other collaborators in the industry. A good thing is a lot of times with waxing and stuff like that, that's too aggressive on a sensitive skin client, or especially like an oncology type level client. Sugaring is more recommended. So we have partners that we recommend those type of education out to. Um, we do partnering with like different LED devices. LED is wonderful for your sensitive skin clients. So we've created a protocol with a particular device, manufacturer. And I think those collabs, like our specialty is showing you how to look for sensitive skin, how to do our protocols. But then if you're wanting to take the next step up and use a device or a certain type of massage or whatever, we partner with other people in the industry that help teach that education, which is their specialty.
Okay. So I was going to ask you, what are your specific favorite modalities? I know you mentioned like Reiki, massage. What are the ones that you believe in as someone who's like a leader in the industry?
I believe massage and the power of touch is really important, but you have to know if they've had lymph nodes removed and really understand your client and how you're doing it and doing it properly. I see too many people taking a roller and just going like this all over the face, but they're not opening up the pathways to
Hmm.
remove that out. So, getting the edge, I think massage is important. I think LED is really great for a variety of different skin conditions. I think that's a great modality. I mean, I have a lot of people that do the Reiki and they really enjoy it working with that with their clients. But I think really the massage and that power of touch and the calmness, because stress is a big trigger for people
Hmm.
that changes their skin. If they're under a lot of stress, is getting that calm down, I think is really important. So I think the power of touch is an incredible add-on. And to learn the extra, because in school they don't really teach you much on the power of touch.
No,
Going and taking
not at all.
some, there's, things to do that I go sometimes and I watch uh, different manufacturers and go to their classes, just watch how they're doing massage and things like that. And you see some of them like they're almost lifting the people off the table. You can tell they're really good at it. And that makes a big difference when you go in for a facial. Or if somebody's just kind of touching your face and that's your massage, you don't really want to go back there because it's also about the facial and looking good. But then relaxing also seems to be a big thing that people are looking for, especially during, stressful times that we have going on.
Yeah, I don't know if it correlates, but if your skin is sensitive, I would assume that also internally, like you are probably sensitive in general. So you probably need more like
Mhm.
nervous system regulation. So massage helps with that. So it all ties together and makes sense.
Yeah, stress triggers a lot of things like eczema, psoriasis, people with shingles, obviously you trigger that with stress. People get that more than once.
Hmm.
Learning just to getting rid of that stress relation, I think is a big opportunity for an esthetician to be able to learn a little bit more and understand their clients and give them a little bit more of a treat.
Hmm. And if someone wanted to work with oncology patients, can you tell us a little bit about like just the uniqueness in working with them and how an esthetician can get involved with that?
So we primarily collaborate with Oncology Training International. That's Marag, who started my line. She created some of the products that I still have in the product line. But if you go to her website, they do offer a discount if you're using Hale and Hush. But I think it's a great opportunity. I think it's a great class to take. Sometimes when she started out, I saw people take the class and like they were going to use it right away. And I saw other ones like they learned a lot, but maybe they weren't sure they wanted to work with somebody in treatment, actively in treatment, but they wanted to work with the survivor state. So I think a lot of people are touched by cancer. And that's part of the reason when I changed the line, because when I had techniques with my partners, I would stand at the trade show and people are like, we don't have any sick people. We don't have any cancer clients. Yes, everybody does.
Hmm.
Maybe they're not telling you
Yeah.
and you don't realize even skin cancer that changes on their face. If somebody does Mohs surgery, that thins out that area on that face. And if they're not telling you that, they could be reactive in that area. So I think there's a lot of good things you can do that. I do a lot of giving back to different groups in the industry, like Look Feel Fab and thing that works out of several hospitals up in Boston. They have oncology estheticians that go in and work with these patients. I
Hmm.
think a lot of people can give back to their community. I mean, it's good for marketing. We're all about making money in this industry. It's good for your marketing PR for your company, but it's also giving back to help someone. And whether it's helping somebody who's active in treatment, also somebody who's out of treatment and in a survivor state, or helping out the caregivers. They also could use a good massage and a nice touch
Yeah.
because they put so much stress in caring for someone. I think there's a lot of giving back. And I see we're seeing more people with autoimmune disorders, lupus, all these type of things. What you learn from oncology aesthetics training, you learn the sanitation, you learn the touch, how to change movements if they've had lymph nodes removed and things. But it really teaches you how to work with that type of ultra sensitive client and
Hmm.
how to just do baby steps maybe to get them where they need to be and
Hmm.
just to help them during that time when they're in active treatment and then also rebuild their skin to what we call the new normal when they're done with treatment.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's great to always be like to pick a niche. And I think this is a great niche, especially if you have the heart for it. I'm sure it's kind of
Mhm.
takes probably a little bit like of a mental toll also. So you definitely need to
Does.
have the right mindset. But I actually met someone recently. I believe she said that she works with Hale and Hush, the Glow project.
Oh, yep. I
Yeah.
just working with her. She's doing, besides what she does with the oncology clients, Brandy, she also is doing something that we're helping sponsor June or July. I can't remember the dates anymore, where they're getting first responders in.
Hmm. I think it's in
And so
June.
they're going to
Yeah.
work on it. Yeah, they're working on first responders. They've got estheticians, and she's really trying to make this into a nonprofit in order to give estheticians like volunteer hours and things like that. But she also works with the aging community at, senior living homes.
Hmm.
All of those people can benefit, from Hale and Hush can go from young to old,
Yeah.
and they're still going to get all the words they want with the anti-aging, but to have those type of people, I think her project's incredible. Yeah, we just started working with her.
Yeah, she's awesome. We plan to have her on the podcast. But I think it just also goes to show that, I mean, when I got into doing facials, I wanted to give facials because of the feeling that it gave me as like feeling like pampered in a sense of like self-love, like I deserve this. And I think that there's a lot of estheticians out there that they look at facials not just in a way of like vanity, but it's more of just like
Mhm.
feeling good from the inside out. And yeah, I think that's important to highlight for sure.
And a lot of people are making that sensitive skin niche. Shauna, who's my director of education, she is incredible. When she started out, she really made that niche of sensitive skin clients. And
Hmm.
other estheticians referred people back to her because that wasn't their niche, but they knew that she could work on those type of clients if they came in. So, I mean, you have to have that passion, but you have to know that every time somebody comes in, they're probably going to give you their sob story. This is going on with me. I have these problems. I have this, but the reward that you get from when somebody, you've changed them. Even just getting rid of some of the inflammation is such an important thing to them. Maybe it's not going to cure them their eczema, their psoriasis, any of these things, but to calm it down so
Mhm.
that they feel in a good place with their skin, I think that's so important.
Yeah. I think that with any inflammatory response in the skin, um, like calming is always the way to go. I think that we're taught to go with like something that strips the skin or kills the bacteria, like acids and stuff. But what I'm noticing more and more with my clients is a lot of clients that have acne, they don't even need to be on acne products. They just need to like repair their skin barrier. And so that's the approach I take before even
Mhm.
considering acids or anything like that. So I think that this is
But
kind
we
of
have
what, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Face Reality is well known, obviously, for their niche with acne.
Hmm.
We collab with them. In fact, we had a webinar earlier today with them
Hmm.
because we have so many clients that use us together as niche brands because
Hmm.
people can use some of our stuff to calm down in between the more aggressive treatments as they're working on their treatment plan for acne. I mean, we're not going to work on a grade 3, grade 4 acne. That isn't what Hale and Hush does, but
Yeah.
we can reduce the inflammation for those people, and that's half the battle,
Hmm.
is calming that down um, for them to be in a better place because otherwise they're just going to continue to be more reactive. I think a lot of these doctors are derms and things are supplying medications again and even having these people on these more aggressive medications in the summertime. I live in Arizona. It's 117 here in the summer.
Oh
And
God.
like, why do you have them on these aggressive ingredients and they're out sweating and they're losing moisture and you're not helping them
Yeah.
because you're not treating their skincare, but you're giving them these drugs that are too aggressive for them.
Hmm.
I think they think it's a quick fix, but then when a client goes off of that, they don't taper them off. And then honestly, they end up going back to having the same issues again.
Mm. Yeah, it's very hot in Arizona. I've only been there once and I was like, I couldn't even last outside more than like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Very hot.
Yeah. Well, it's different humidity because I was just in, where was it, Orlando, or that humidity is awful. I don't care if it's 90 degrees, the humidity is worse. There's like a sauna, we're like an oven. So, I guess it
Yeah,
balances out some.
yeah. So can you share a case study or transformation story from an esthetician that used your line?
A particular, I'll give you a couple of quick stories. So one example is Shauna, we were at the Skin Games a couple years ago, and another vendor came up to us. They had breast cancer, they'd had radiation and everything, and they had a rash down their entire side.
Hmm.
Shauna ran to said, we're grabbed the testers off the table, ran to the bathroom with her, and went in there and brushed on our BioPowder, Relief BioPowder, which is used a lot of different ways on there to calm the skin.
Hmm.
This woman has given us testimonials forever because she's still going to have these conditions because the skin has changed. But to have something that calms that, and now she has her rescue products, I mean, it's really great. I've seen people with, going from maybe like lupus. I had a client that was lupus that was the medications that she ran were thinning her skin, causing irritation. Just going back and seeing her transformation and the happiness that she had and knowing that she had products where she could calm that skin down where it was triggered.
Hmm.
Because there's certain things that can continue to trigger a butterfly rash on her face or things like that. But to have a safety net, because a lot of the stuff that's at Target and things like that, doesn't work for those type of things because not everything you have to figure out what sensitive skin ingredients are going to work for your particular client with the condition that they have a sensitivity.
Hmm.
There's not a be all end all. So trial and error, but I guess we've had so many stories where different things, helping people with cancer, helping people with reactive skin, helping them calm that skin down when they're going through hormonal issues, and trying to get that barrier repaired back. You see a lot of estheticians that have skincare problems. They're not really treating themselves. And to see that and go, oh my gosh, my skin looks good now. I feel good about treating my clients.
Yeah. No, you kind of tend to see it like those who struggle with acne end up helping those with acne, those with sensitive
Hmm.
skin end up because it's
Yep.
for example, the line that I use in my spa, I use it every day on myself. So it's like you want the best way to sell and
Hmm.
it's to actually believe in the products that you're using, hands down. So this
Nope.
actually it goes perfectly with my next question. But for newer estheticians, maybe anyone that wants to try Hale and Hush, what are three Hale and Hush products that you say are absolute staples?
Well, it put a smile on my face when you gave me some of these questions in an email to think about. I Would somebody ask for one? I can't give you one because I'm going to give you three anyway.
Okay.
So the thing we start everybody on is our quiet wash. That's our gentle cleanser. No acids, no enzymes, no fragrance.
Mhm.
Obviously, everything has a smell, but no added fragrance or anything. Our Hush Hydrate Gel, which is our lightest weight moisturizer, but then it's also our main hydrating mask.
Okay.
And then we have our bio powder that I mentioned. So Meringue, when she started the Technique line years ago, a lot of times oncology patients get shingles or rashes from the chemo.
Hmm.
And so you would take this powder, a little bit of powder, a cleansed hand, a couple of drops of distilled water, make a paste like a calamine. It has calamine, willow herb, totol in it, very calming. And you would put that paste on those rashes. Now we mix it into our Hush Hydrate to calm in the treatment room, or if you use it as a moisturizer, a couple of shakes in there. You can make that paste, use it on bug bites, any types of rashes. You can brush it on dry, like I mentioned, we did on that woman who had some radiation burns and considerations. So that's what we call the trifecta kit,
Hmm.
is those three products to start somebody on for home care because they're going to see their skin starting to calm down. They're going to see that barrier getting better. Now it is a lightweight moisturizer, the Hush Hydrate. They may need the lipid lotion or the saffron later, but let's get it calmed down the barrier good before we're adding in the other pieces. But that's what we call our trifecta kit. We have a retail trifecta kit for your clients for
Hmm.
home care, and then we have a back bar trifecta kit for using it in the treatment room.
Okay. I actually like the three products that I'm using now from you guys is the Quiet Wash, the Hydrate Mask, and the Remedy Oil. Because I use
Okay,
a
well,
lot of
two of
oil.
those are there. That's
Yeah.
those two of the three right there.
Yeah. So
And if
what's
people, if they
sorry, go
want samples, I was going to say, if they register on our website, students or estheticians, register on the website, upload a copy of your student ID or your license, we automatically send you out a free set of samples. You're licensed, you get a couple of the pro products with it and a little flash drive with all the protocols and data sheets and everything on it. You just don't get the two pro products if you're a student, but we do still sell to students.
Okay, I'll make sure to include that link in the show notes. So to just wrap it up, what's next for Hale and Hush? Are there any upcoming launches, any education? I know you're speaking, I believe it's called the Awaken retreat.
At Awakened Retreat. So Shauna, my director of education, is decided she has such a passion for education. Like you say, people have these passions. So Shauna is doing the Awakened Day Spa retreat. I will be speaking at that on more about networking and collaborating, how that has helped me in this industry. We just launched our Clarify Watch, which is our new Mandelic cleanser that just launched. We've got three other products that are going to launch by the end of the year that we've got coming. We recently launched in New Zealand and Australia. So we're starting to try to get out there outside the US more.
Mhm.
Shauna's always new classes. I mean, we have advanced acne classes. We have a lot, she's doing menopause classes, all these different things that all fit with the different sensitivities and sensitized skin conditions and how we can work with them.
I love that because I feel like you kind of attract clients from different age groups and also too as estheticians, like you said, our hormones are always changing, so we're experiencing our bodies in a
Mhm.
different way. So it's nice to be able to learn about like menopausal skin, even skin when you're pregnant, things like that. Are your products pregnancy safe?
Some of them I would say are pregnancy safe. I mean, I wouldn't be using our Mandelic serums or
Yeah.
our enzymes or things like on that on somebody that's pregnant.
Oh,
Because everybody's different. You might be fine in the first trimester, second trimester, one person's good and the other person's not. So we just err on the side of caution. And those more aggressive, targeted Mandelics, retinaldehyde serum, things like that, we wouldn't say are pregnancy safe. But most things are. A lot of the line now is vegan. Almost everything that I'm doing going forward, I'm making sure they're vegan. Everything's gluten free, paraben free, sulfate free, and we don't use artificial fragrance, which is a big sensitivity issue for people because you don't know what's in parfum. If it says parfum on the bottle or just fragrance and it doesn't tell you what that natural fragrance is, that means it could be up to 400 different ingredients that
mhm.
you really don't know what they're reacting to. And so that's the scary thing with a lot of parfums.
And I know, just sorry, this is just a follow-up, but like I know in other countries they're more strict with their ingredient list. Does yours kind of follow the same as like the UK? Okay.
Yes. Because as I'm wanting to go that way, that's what we're looking for. I mean, I consider us a pretty clean brand where you're not
Mhm.
totally organic,
Hmm.
Everything is a chemical, as we know. So when people say chemical free, everything's a chemical anyway.
Yeah.
We try to use natural preservatives, that those type of things, because I just think that's more of where we're going. I wish the US would get better on requiring people to truly put what's in your ingredient deck
Hmm.
and watch it like the UK does, because they're much more strict over there to go to the EU than we are here in the US.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of fascinating because, like, for example, Danny the other day, she gave me a patch to put on that was like a vitamin patch. And I'm like, wow, if
Hmm.
this is just giving me vitamins, then, like, we put perfume, usually we put the perfume here and here. Like, you can only imagine. I've noticed lately, the more I've switched to more clean products, like, my hormones have gotten better. So I think that it's great. I think that, like, I know it's very niche in that you guys cater to sensitive skin, but I see you more as like all inclusive and where we should be heading as an industry.
But funny you say that, because we actually are working, we're doing a brand refresh this year, and I'm
Mhm.
actually removing the tagline that we had that said sensitive skin specialist. I
Mhm.
think as the new labels come out with the Clarify Wash, I took that off. We've kind of like established that that's what we do, but
Mhm.
we really can be used on all skin types. I
Yeah.
mean, we've got all the buzzwords our people are looking for, just not in that, more aggressive form, like a heavier cosmeceutical. So we can still treat all those different types of skin. It's not just sensitive skin. And I think a lot of people going through hormonal issues, autoimmune, more mature skin, they're looking for something to get the buzzwords, but not cause reactions. And
Mhm.
even in a young teenager, some of those products there for acne, they're just too aggressive for some of those younger teens.
Yeah.
So I think we're really filling across the board these days.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Kris.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to visit your website, what is your website?
It is Hale, and then you spell out the word and hush.com. And if
Perfect.
you want to get those free samples, go to the registration tab and you automatically get those after you register.
Okay, yeah, we'll make sure to include both of those links in the show notes. And thank you so much. Alrighty. Bye, Estes.
Okay. Bye, everybody.